Have you ever seen a half axle with a damaged joint? This scene is being performed in a repair shop in Pakistan. Even those who can repair and those who can't are dumbfounded. This tractor in front of me is obviously imported. It is impossible to buy spare parts for a while, but in Pakistan, where everything can be repaired, the master walked towards the repair shop firmly. Only here can the half axle be reborn. For a half axle like this used for transmission, the master will generally heat it directly. The whole process is familiar because the hardness of the half axle is very high. If the hardness is reduced by annealing, the lathe cannot process it at all. After the wood and cow dung are heated, the hardness meets the requirements of the lathe processing. The master first. In this way, the original length can be obtained to provide data reference for subsequent splicing. For this kind of fracture surface that affects the splicing, the lathe tool must be operated to perform necessary cutting work to make the fracture surface a smooth and flat plane. The plane is not only convenient for measuring the existing length, but also does not cause drilling when drilling. Unconventional whole section processing of the flange end of the pipe, direct splicing can't find concentricity at all, and the length of the shaft will also become shorter. In order to meet the requirements of concentricity and coaxiality, the axis must be drilled. This will not only improve the strength of the joint, but also make it easier for the master to use other materials to make up for the splicing. The strength of the splicing is related to the size of the hole diameter. Even if a drill is used to drill the hole diameter of the axis cannot withstand the torque at all, so the hole must be enlarged by the internal hole cutter. The flange diameter is now qualified after measurement with a high-profile digital caliper. However, the riveting process will be used this time. In order to allow the edge of the hole to have a groove limit, the master will use a washing knife to wash horizontally. The groove can share all the forces of the hole. Although they only have one ordinary car, the creativity of the Pakistani people is unlimited. Using the bed as a washing bed is not their limit. Considering that the length of the flange end has become shorter, Fu is going to use this section of steel rod for three-stage splicing, which meets the rigid requirements of length. The convex part of the step still has enough processing space. The first step of steel rod cutting. To process the convex stopper for the axis hole, this process is relatively simple. However, the outer diameter of the steel rod is much larger than the shaft diameter. To cut a reference step, when processing the other end, the outer diameter of the steel rod can be directly cut and reduced according to the outer diameter of the step just now. As for the outer diameter of the half-axis shaft rod, it is completely consistent with the groove cut on the flange end. Fu has to process the corresponding convex stopper on the steel rod. Obviously, there is no washing machine to make parallel grooves. Fu can only fix it horizontally on the claw plate. The arc surface is cut by rotation, but it can also be stuck in the linear groove of the flange end to prevent the appearance of hollow valleys inside. The steel rod is completely embedded so that the groove of the washing can be completely close. Because the anchor joint has added multiple gaps, the joints need to be simply cut with a lathe tool to increase the welding area of the welding rod. This can improve the welding strength of the steel rod. The two are proportional. Because the flange is extended by the steel rod, the master must not only cut the hanba flat, but also ensure that the outer diameter is consistent with the original factory data. In order to avoid the occurrence of minerals when docking with the side bridge axis, the excess length of the steel rod on the broken spline and at the other end must be processed into a convex column. No matter how long the steel rod is, the excess part must be embedded in the spline end to restore the half-axis length without error. After the master's meticulous cutting, then we have to consider the splicing of the spline end. Since the convex on the steel rod has been fixed, the master's first task is to make the cross-section smooth. The convex exterior is used as a reference. The axis of the spline end is gradually hollowed out. The aperture is exactly the same as the outer diameter of the convex. After precise measurement with an outer diameter micrometer, the spline end can be returned to its original position. Although the master did not use the threaded docking method, as long as the outer diameter of the convex of the steel rod is large enough, the strength of the connection is similar. The master used the wolf head to knock the half shaft to become a hole. Then the welding rod is used to fill the groove of the jade flow. The gap of the splicing can be covered, considering that the shaft rod needs to fit the axis perfectly. The welding slag produced by the joint needs to be cut flat. After the master uses a lathe to finish the lower section, the half shaft can be used again. This kind of street craftsmanship is really amazing.